Hi guys, because the Tories lost so many seats at the last election, it means that Kemi Badenoch hasn't just been scraping the bottom of the barrel for her shadow cabinet. In some cases, MPs are holding more than one portfolio. But those who aren't are still pretty terrible politicians. Case in point, Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor. Following the Trump victory that many Tories supported, we're getting news that massive tariffs will be placed on US imports when he gets into office. Mel Stride was asked what he would do if he was Chancellor in Kemi Badenoch's government over this, and he started talking about Labour.
He has said he may put tariffs of 10 to 20% on imported goods, including from this country. How would you respond to that if you were Chancellor?
So the first and most important thing is America is a hugely important ally, and we need to make sure that we have a very firm and good relationship with the Trump administration. Now, of course, this government has not got off onto the best start in that respect in terms of some of the comments that have been made by members of the government front bench. But it is primarily about relationships. But you're absolutely right, 10 to 20% tariffs. We have over £300 billion worth of exports to the United States, our most important trading partner. So it's important that we get that relationship right.
Yeah, what would you do? What would you do? Because what Kemi Badenoch said to the Prime Minister yesterday is, and I quote, she said, discuss, chat. The Prime Minister has no plans whatsoever for building on the special relationship. So in practical terms, what specifically would you do, were you Chancellor, to respond to those tariffs? If introduced?
Well, I think I've already made an important point, which is when we talk about chat, some of the chat, of course, has been making some very derogatory remarks
That's
about
the Labour Party,
elect.
Mr. Stride.
Yes,
I'm going to talk to them about that all the time.
We need a change in...
You're asked, what would you do? And you start talking about the Labour Party. You're asked a very simple question, Mel Stride. If you were Chancellor under an administration run by Kemi Badenoch, what would you do about these tariffs?
We need a change in tone and approach to Donald Trump, and hopefully this government can now.
Yeah, Keir Starmer and David Lammy have had dinner with him, and it was all very convivial. So how would you respond to tariffs of 10 to 20%?
Because this is subject to negotiations and discussions, and the most important thing is that we forge a strong, positive relationship with the Trump administration going forward, and that is exactly what Kemi was referring to yesterday in Prime Minister's questions.
Yeah, but what would you do about the tariffs?
We need you have to have discussions. At the end of the day, as a sovereign nation, the United States will take decisions on those kind of matters, but they will clearly make them in conjunction with discussions with other countries, including those within the European Union, for example, and ourselves. And it's important that in that context, we do whatever we can to make sure that those relationships, that the mood music, that the relationships with the administration are strong and positive.
The simple answer is there's nothing you can do. He talks about, well, we can have a good relationship with Donald Trump and we can try and improve things and, criticize the Labour Party. Look, there's nothing you can do as Chancellor when it comes to these tariffs. Maybe you can try and compensate British businesses, but then there may be issues about, World Trade Organization rules then. But there's nothing you can do. This is something I don't understand about the Conservatives. They were campaigning for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is terrible for Britain. He's going to impose these tariffs. Now, this is what he said. Whether he'll do it is another thing, but we have to take him on his word when he says this. And these will be extremely damaging. It will be damaging for US businesses, but it will be damaging for UK exports. They're designed to damage. They're anti-trade. Tariffs are anti-trade. Anti-free trade. Trump and the Conservatives talk about we support free trade. Well, tariffs are the opposite of that. It's protectionism. Now, when he talks about negotiations, who do you think is in a stronger position to negotiate? The EU, China, or Britain? Now, the EU may be in a strong position, China may be in a strong position, but in what position, what strength is there in the UK government's ability to negotiate with the United States? Because remember, and I said this before, the negotiations don't take place between Donald Trump and Keir Starmer or Donald Trump and Kemi Badenoch. They take place between the administrations. And I keep saying this, in a negotiation between the US and the UK, who do you think is going to come out better? Who do you think is going to demand or extract more concessions? We know the answer to that. So when it comes to these tariffs, Keir Starmer can send somebody over to beg and plead and grovel and say, please remove some of these tariffs. And if it's in the interest of the US to remove some of these tariffs, they will. We saw it before. When Joe Biden came in, they removed some of the tariffs. Now, the Brexiteers, of course, did a bit of a victory lap claiming, say, this was because of our great relationship with the US. No, it's because the US administration decided we're going to get rid of some of these tariffs. They applied to the EU, they applied to the UK. But Donald Trump, apart from looking after Donald Trump, will put America before everyone else. So when the UK goes there and asks, can you remove this tariff? Donald Trump's administration will decide, does it benefit America? If it does, then we'll get rid of it. And that will be the basis. There's very little damage the UK can do to the US. The UK can impose its own tariffs. But because the economy now is so much smaller post-Brexit, and it doesn't have the clout as it used to have within the European Union, then whatever tariffs a new administration places on imports from the US is going to be just damaging to UK businesses. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.